I was heading down to Ralph's the other day to get some breakfast and even meet a few viewers from this channel, including one of our moderators, True to Roof. And on the way down, it was about a mile, I thought I'd listen to a little NPR on my iPhone. And as soon as I turned it on, I heard the NPR national correspondent from Washington, D.C. talk about Steve Bannon and say he used to be the owner of this white nationalist website called Breitbart.com. I said, damn, I've written a lot for Breitbart and they review my books, and I didn't know they were white nationalists. Maybe I don't know what white nationalists are. You know, if you talk to people in that crowd and, you know, if you use the terms white nationalists, white separatists, white supremacists, if you use those interchangeably as I do, because I'm not down with any of them, you know, they jump all over you and they say, well, Colin, you know, you got that all wrong. This is this, that's that, and you got to figure that all out, Colin. Okay, well, yeah, I'll figure that out someday in the future, like in the year 2096. But in the meantime, you know, so I'm trying to figure out what a white nationalist is, and I don't have any idea, especially why anybody would say Breitbart's a white nationalist. But I know what a black nationalist is, because we've seen that. We've seen the New Africa movement, a bunch of black people get together and say, listen, there's so much white racism in this country that it's so omnipresent all the time, everywhere. It just explains everything. The only solution is to get black people to carve out a chunk of the United States. I think they drew a line on a map, 7 southern states, including Mississippi. And that's going to be our only solution. I mean, you know, this is a real thing. They have leaders, they have maps, they have meetings, they have conferences, they get grants, the whole thing. They even elected a mayor. They elected the mayor of the largest city in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, which is also the capital of Mississippi. They elected this dude mayor. You know, he's down with the cause. He was elected in 2013, died a couple years later, but pretty much everybody, you know, Jackson is now a chocolate city, and people in Jackson are down with the cause of black nationalism and black separatism. Which is why I thought it was weird when I saw this story about how crime in Jacksonville has gone down. Major crime's gone down 40% in the last year. I wonder what that's all about, because, you know, what we know about Jackson does not comport with that little fairy tale number of 40%. Let's look at this story about Jackson, and let's have a little reminder of what Jackson's really like.
Some of Jackson's first responders gathered at the state capitol today to try to pray crime away.
And offer up our free speech to you.
Police Chief Lee Vance, Governor Phil Bryant, and Fire Chief R.D. Simpson were all at this prayer service. They believe prayer is working in Jackson. Organizers say that major crimes are down in the capital city more than 40% compared to last year.
It's pretty obvious to me. It's a crime prevention strategy. I freely admitted at the podium that I don't have the power over life and death. And so there's only one force in the universe that has that, so why not reach out?
If you look at all of us standing here praying together, Republican governor and Democratic mayor, it doesn't matter. What we're praying for is the safety of this city and the safety of these first responders.
Police say there were 1,400 fewer crimes in 2016 in Jackson than in 2015.
Okay, so we do stories here probably a couple of times a month, how some city, you know, is always discovering a new way to reduce the crime numbers. We just did a story in Detroit. The guy was saying, I called these guys up. I was watching the burglars in my store, and the cops wouldn't respond. And all of a sudden, the people in Detroit come out and say, oh yeah, crimes are down. Well, they're down because you're not responding and you're not taking crime reports. That's what's happening in Jackson, where the criminals are not viewed as criminals. They are viewed as victims of white racism. Sounds crazy, right? Oh, no. You haven't heard crazy yet.
What I suggest, we get the black leadership together, and as these jurisdictions come into Jackson, we throw rocks and bricks and bottles at them. That'll send the message, we don't want you in here.
Reaction on social media and from metro area law enforcement was swift.
Actually, Councilman Stokes is the one inciting racism and violence against police officers.
Some even say they're concerned about the safety of their officers now.
And that's why we're here in unity, saying we don't agree with it. We're very disappointed in Mr. Stokes' statements, and we stand unified against that kind of activity.
If I have somebody throwing a brick or a bottle at me, that's it's a threat to my life, to my health, and my safety. To me, he's inciting some innocent young person that doesn't understand the law is going to get hurt over it because of him, because I fully expect my deputies to defend themselves.
So we got a city councilman in Jackson, Mississippi, saying he's going to organize the black leadership to throw rocks at police officers from all over the area who happen to chase criminals coming into Jackson. I wonder why criminals in would run into Jackson. Why would they feel safe in Jackson? Why do criminals feel Jackson is a safe space? It's because Jackson is run by clowns like that guy who said he and his buddies are going to throw rocks at Jackson. So clearly in Jackson, arresting criminals is not a number one priority. Patting them on the head and asking them not to, to be good boys and girls in the future, that's their crime fighting strategy. So we don't have any idea what happened to crime in Jackson over the last year. It was up, it was down, it was sideways. Nobody knows, because those numbers are totally bogus when you have people like that in charge of keeping the numbers. But we do know what's happened in Jackson over the last couple days since this story about praying away the crime in Jackson appeared.
Witnesses say a parking lot brawl broke out sometime around 8 o'clock Saturday night in Ridgeland. In between the Trustmark Bank off of County Line Road and the Pizza Hut right next door is where Ridgeland police rushed to find that huge crowd of teens. Now, police tell us there were so many teens out here, they were outnumbered, so they had to call in backup. That's when Madison County deputies and the Reservoir Patrol showed up to help. Witnesses say there were at least a dozen kids in that parking lot. Police believe parents dropped most of the juveniles off, and they don't believe they were from the area. Several people were taken to the police station and detained until their parents arrived.
Deputies say that someone shot 5 people at a club, and as you mentioned, it was on a Church Road. Now, one person died at the scene, and as for the other victims, 2 are in critical condition here at UMMC. One is in stable condition at a hospital in Macomb, and the 4th victim is actually back at home tonight. Now, we spoke to family members who identified the man deputies say died at the scene.
Prince Jackson, he's my cousin. I just got news that they were at a club and someone pulled out a gun and started shooting, and unfortunately they were in a crossfire.
Yes, Megan. Well, deputies say the victim was targeted because he is a known firearms collector and had dozens of guns inside of his home just off of Luckney Road on Quail Hollow Road. Now, sources inside of the apartment do tell me that his name is Stephen Butler. We're told at 2 o'clock this morning, doctors at Flowood Merit Health Hospital called 911 about a 61-year-old man with multiple gunshot wounds in his legs. Sheriff Brian Bailey says the victim told officers he was asleep when a man with a mask knocked on his door, came inside demanding money, and then pistol whipped him in the head and forced him to open up his gun safe.
These aren't the first stories we've done in Jackson. Last story we did in Jackson, last one I remember, in addition to Mr. Crazy City Councilman, involved an old white dude just out there cutting his lawn, mowing his lawn, bagging a few leaves. Black guy came along and killed him. That's Jackson. Jackson's a dark and dangerous and dirty chocolate town. What reporters and public officials are have a really urgent sense of denial, deceit, and delusion about it. They'll do anything to pretend that it's not that way. They'll have little prayer meetings to try to pray the crime away. You don't have a prayer meeting to pray the crime away if you have a safe city. Prayer is the last resort. Last resort before doing something that will probably make the black kids angry.